For everyone who is in right now, we're just going to wait a couple more minutes until we get a couple more people in, and we will begin very shortly. So thank you for your patience. All right, everyone. We are about ready to get this started. We've got quite a few people in, and it's 10:02, so we'll get going. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Cleaner Driving with Cleaner Fuel, the Economic and Environmental Benefits of Ethanol. This webinar is presented by Metro Energy Center, and I am your moderator today, Brant Hertenstein. Today, we'll be talking about ethanol as a transportation fuel. As many of you know, the world around us is evolving, the effects of climate change are happening all around us, and it is up to us to help mitigate our impact. Today, our presenters will talk about the advantages of ethanol from an environmental and a financial perspective. Let me introduce them now. First up will be Tammy Alexander. She is the program coordinator at MEC and the anchor of our Central Kansas's Clean Cities Coalition. Next will be Kim Trinchet, the communications manager at Urban Air Initiative, which is a nonprofit dedicated to improving environmental air quality and protecting public health by reducing air emissions. Finally, we will meet with Phil Neer, president of 3G Energy and Jumpstart stores around the Kansas area. The format of the webinar will be 15-minute presentations from our speakers, followed by a Q&A. If at any time you have a question, please type it in the chat. As time allows at the very end, we will get to those questions, hopefully sequentially. As a friendly reminder, you will be muted throughout the session and will not have any audio capabilities. And from the outset of this webinar is recorded and will be distributed on our social media afterward. So without further ado, I will hand this over to Tammy. Tammy, you may be muted.
There we go. I am. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And I hope everyone can see my slides okay.
I can see them.
Okay. So as Brent said, I'm Tammy Alexander. I'm the coordinator for the Central Kansas Clean Cities Coalition. I'm going to start off with a little bit of a brief overview of MEC so you know who we are and the Clean Cities program and what we do. So first of all, MEC is a nonprofit that's based in the Kansas City area. It was started in 1983. So we've been working on energy efficiency for over 35 years. Our mission is to create resource efficiency, environmental health, and economic vitality in mid-America. We do that through a couple of ways. We work on energy efficiency in the built environment, and our work includes small commercial buildings and multi-unit dwellings. We also have our Project Living Proof demonstration home, which is a century-old home that's been remodeled with the most up-to-date environmental and efficiency measures to make it usable for the next century. We also work to reduce petroleum use in transportation through our Clean Cities coalitions. We have the Kansas City Regional Clean Cities Coalition, which was started in 1998 and is based in Kansas City and serves the metro area and the counties surrounding in Missouri and Kansas. And then the Central Kansas Clean Cities was started in 2013. It's based in Wichita, Kansas, and we serve the rest of the state of Kansas. So what is Clean Cities? Clean Cities is a program of U.S. Department of Energy's Vehicle Technologies Office. It was established in response to the Energy Policy Act of 1992, and it's a community-based program that creates partnerships in public and private sectors. Its mission is to advance the energy, economic, and environmental security of the United States by supporting local actions to cut petroleum use in transportation. The benefits of the Clean Cities program include reduced petroleum consumption for transportation. Transportation accounts for more than 70% of U.S. petroleum use, and through the Clean Cities portfolio of alternative fuels and advanced vehicle technologies, the program has saved more than 10 billion gallons of petroleum since its beginning in 1993. We also work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Transportation is the leading source of emissions, contributing more than 1/4 of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. The many options in the Clean Cities portfolio substantially reduce greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles. Our solutions including biofuels and other alternative fuels, plug-in electric vehicles, idle reduction, and other fuel efficiency measures. And then we also work to reduce dependence on imported petroleum. Increasing the use of alternative fuels increases the diversity of our fuel sources so that we don't need to rely on petroleum alone. This reduces the volume of imported petroleum, and in addition, most alternative fuels are domestically produced, so they support our local and national economy. Clean Cities works to cut petroleum using 3 main strategies. The first is to eliminate petroleum use through idle reduction and other fuel-saving technology and practices. We also work to reduce petroleum consumption through smarter driving and fuel economy improvements. And then, of course, replacing petroleum with alternative and renewable fuels, including biodiesel, electricity, ethanol, which we'll talk about today, hydrogen, natural gas, propane, and then whatever the future may bring. Clean Cities work focuses on 4 major activities. Local and national partnerships. We work to convene key community and business leaders to develop and implement projects, leverage resources, and address local barriers through the program's coalitions. In addition, national partnerships use Clean Cities resources nationwide to engage with larger fleets and organizations. We offer information and education. We develop data-driven tools to help consumers save money on fuel costs and help fleets understand their options for cost-effective alternatives to gasoline and diesel fuel. We offer technical and problem-solving assistance. Clean Cities experts help local leaders address permitting and safety issues and technology shortfalls and other project implementation barriers. And then we can also assist with competitively awarded financial assistance. We utilize federal awards to provide funding that encourages an initial private sector match and long-term investment. This framework is bolstered by local support through designated Clean Cities coalitions throughout the nation that have their finger on the pulse of the local market conditions and priorities. These local coalitions can tap national resources to provide unbiased information, tools, experts to address barriers and solve problems, national partnerships with industry and large national fleets, publicity through mass media and outreach, and of course, financial assistance to jumpstart markets and incentivize private investment. There are nearly 100 coalitions nationwide, and about 82% of the U.S. population lives inside of a Clean Cities coalition boundary. Each coalition is led by an on-the-ground Clean Cities coordinator like me, who can tailor projects and activities to the unique opportunities of their region. Coordinators serve as both educators and problem solvers for their stakeholders. Clean Cities coalitions also strengthen markets for alternative fuels and advanced vehicles in their local area. We do this through a variety of ways. We create formal and informal networking opportunities with fleets and industry partners through coalition organized or sponsored events, such as workshops, webinars such as this, monthly meetings, and other personal introductions to key industry partners. We sponsor technical training, workshops, webinars, make publications and other information and resources available about alternative fuels, advanced vehicles, idle reduction, and other strategies that reduce petroleum consumption. We offer individual consultation and fuel neutral technical assistance, including fleet analysis to find the best options for each fleet and duty cycle. Coalitions also have access to a broad set of industry experts who can help with projects as well as identify and solve problems. Supplying information about funding opportunities is another key part of what we do. We've learned about funding from federal and state and local agencies, other private sources, and we offer assistance in funding applications. We provide public recognition for progress in cutting petroleum use. Once fleets have made the commitment to alternative fuels, coalitions can help by publicly recognizing their efforts in coalition materials, press releases, and other announcements. And of course, we offer assistance in collecting data to justify an investment or make improvements to a program. So now that you know a little bit about who we are, let's get to the main topic of today's webinar, the economic and environmental benefits of ethanol. So what I'll cover what ethanol is, why you should use it, who can use it, and where you can find ethanol blends. So a few facts about ethanol. So ethanol is a renewable fuel that can be made from a variety of plant materials, such as grains, trees, grasses, agricultural residue, algae, and other biological materials. In the US, most ethanol is made from corn. In Brazil, they use sugarcane stalks. Ethanol use is widespread, and you're probably already using it. More than 98% of gasoline in the US contains some ethanol, most commonly E10, which is 10% ethanol and 90% gasoline. This is also known as regular gas. Ethanol is also available in higher blends from E15 or 15% ethanol up to E85, which is 85% ethanol and 15% gasoline. This is what would be used in flex fuel vehicles. Ethanol was first used to power simple machines and simple engines in the early 19th century. To allow farmers in rural areas to use his cars, Henry Ford powered his 1908 Model T on ethanol. It was first used to increase octane in the 1920s, and it's still used for its octane benefits today. Modern ethanol production began in the 1970s to reduce the pollutants in gasoline and reduce our dependence on foreign oil. And just like our vehicles, ethanol production methods have greatly improved in the past half century. Compared to petroleum gasoline, ethanol can reduce emissions by 34% or more, depending on the feedstock used to produce it. So, why use ethanol? As I said, its emissions are more than 34% lower than petroleum gas. It helps to reduce our dependence on imported fuel and benefits our economy. There's little to no initial costs for fleets who want to switch to ethanol blends, and it usually results in decreased fuel costs. The higher octane of ethanol is needed by more modern, more efficient engines that are in today's vehicles. And ethanol reduces the harmful toxins from gasoline emissions, and it works in our existing vehicles and infrastructure, so we don't have to wait for new technology to get the environmental benefits of using ethanol today. Over 90% of light-duty vehicles on the road today use gasoline. Improving the fuel source for existing vehicles doesn't prevent a move to electric vehicles, but complements the work to make all vehicles cleaner. Currently in the US, less than 2% of vehicles are electric, and nearly half of those are in California. Though we expect that transportation will eventually move toward electrification, the change is not happening quickly enough to meet climate goals. While the transition is occurring, it's important to clean up vehicle emissions by using cleaner fuels like ethanol. As with compounded interest, any offset in emissions now improves the climate outlook later. As the graph shows, the U.S. Energy Information Administration projects that in our region, less than 22% of vehicles will be electric by 2050, which means that more than 3/4 will still be combustion engines. Multiple studies have shown the importance of biofuels, including ethanol, in meeting targets for lower greenhouse gas emissions and energy sustainability. While society moves toward electric vehicles, it is important to include ethanol in cleaning up vehicle emissions now as well as into the future. So who can use ethanol? All gasoline engines can use E10 or regular gas, which means there's no need to pay extra for the higher priced fuel labeled as no ethanol. Conventional gasoline vehicles of model year 2001 and newer can use E15. This means that most vehicles on the road today can use E15. At some locations, E15 is called unleaded 88, and it's about 3 to 5 cents cheaper per gallon than regular E10. Flex fuel vehicles can use ethanol blends up to E85 or 85% ethanol. Many vehicle manufacturers make flex fuel vehicles, so you may already be driving one. Just look for the yellow gas cap or the flex fuel badge on your car. So where can I find ethanol blends? The Alternative Fuels Data Center has all the information you need about ethanol and other alternative fuels. You can find it at afdc.energy.gov. There you can use the station locator to find ethanol stations near you, as well as other alternative fuel stations. You can get the latest information on alternative fuels such as ethanol, and get information on flex fuel and other alternative fuel vehicles. You can also get tips on making your current vehicle more efficient. So I want to thank you for joining us today. You're welcome to reach out to Brant and I for more information or questions about alternative fuels. If you're outside of Kansas and Missouri, I encourage you to reach out to the Clean Cities Coalition in your area. You can find their contact information on the Clean Cities website at cleancities.energy.gov. If there isn't a coalition identified for your area, feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you in touch with a nearby coalition for assistance. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the presentations. Thanks. Now we'll move it over to Kim.
All right, good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me and see my screen. So thank you all for being here. We're happy to be a part of this conversation this morning. My name is Kim Trinchet, and I am the Communications Manager with the Urban Air Initiative, or UAI. And UAI is a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving air quality and protecting public health by reducing vehicle emissions. And we are focused on doing this by increasing the use of clean ethanol blends to reduce the need for harmful aromatic compounds in gasoline. And we spend most of our time doing technical research and public education. When I started in this business about 7 years ago, trying to get my, there we go. I knew ethanol was in gasoline, but really never gave any more thought to that. I didn't really know what I was putting in my car. I didn't really care. And it was just one more thing I had to do, another task on my to-do list. But once I started learning about fuel emissions and ethanol, I realized that I could be choosing a better fuel. Now I have 2 young children and I do everything I can to make sure they're safe in the car. But I realized it's not just about tire rotations, oil changes, and car seats. It's also about access to cleaner fuels that create fewer emissions. And that's why I always seek out certain fuels and certain gas stations like Jumpstart, which you're going to hear about next, which sell fuels like E15, which has 15% ethanol, and E30, which has 30% ethanol, because I know they're better for the air my family breathes. And so do my kids. When we go to the gas station, they ask what button I'm going to press, how much ethanol is in the fuel, because they know that it's better. And that's what I hope you leave here with today, a better understanding of how a simple change to the fuel you choose will reduce emissions and improve air quality today. Now, the reason I say today is because there is so much focus and attention right now on electric vehicles being the future of transportation. These kinds of headlines are everywhere, and many believe that electric vehicles, or EVs, are the only option for clean transportation. And don't get me wrong, EVs are valuable, and they will be hugely important for reducing carbon emissions and improving air quality. but we are nowhere near a fully electric society, and the transition will be long and expensive. Take a look at these numbers. As of 2019, there were just over 1.4 plug-in electric vehicles on the road in the US. Compare that to the almost 280 million internal combustion engines driving around. Let those numbers sink in. At this rate, you can see that it will be my children's children who will be living in a fully electric society. And this is why we can't wait and only count on the future of EVs to reduce emissions and improve air quality. We need readily available solutions today for the millions of cars already on the road, and one of those solutions is ethanol. The biggest takeaway I want you to leave here with today is that when ethanol is added to gasoline, it reduces the most carbon-intensive components of gas, which reduces toxic tailpipe emissions and improves air quality. Now let me back up a little bit. Whether you realize it or not, you're already using ethanol. Almost all gasoline today has 10% ethanol in it unless it's otherwise stated. Ethanol, which mostly comes from corn, is essentially a fuel additive used to boost octane. Octane, which is represented by the numbers you see on the button at the gas pump, is in gasoline to help with combustion in your engine. Now, back in the day, lead was used to boost octane, but in 1996, it was banned for being dangerous and unhealthy. Today, there are only two readily available octane sources used in gas: aromatics and ethanol. Aromatics, which are made at an oil refinery, include toxics like benzene, toluene, and xylene, or known as the BTEX complex, and they make up an average of 25% of a gallon of gasoline. And that percentage used to be higher. In 2008, ethanol, which has the highest octane rating available, started to be added to gasoline on a regular basis. Ethanol dilutes the aromatics, reducing them in gas by 8 billion gallons a year. And this is a big deal because toxic aromatics are the most carbon-intensive components of fuel and create the worst kinds of emissions that linger in the air. And ethanol has helped reduce those emissions. And that's just been with 10% ethanol. The more ethanol you add to fuel, the cleaner it is. Ethanol helps reduce the harmful particulates coming out of your tailpipe, meaning a decrease in air pollution and the health risks associated with it, such as heart disease, asthma, and cancer. In 2018, 3 separate studies done by universities showed that ethanol blends reduce toxic tailpipe emissions by as much as 50%. These studies looked at the impact ethanol has on emissions out the tailpipe. Now, I know there's a lot of question and concern about the creation of ethanol or the life cycle analysis from the cornfield to the fuel tank. The farming practices of growing corn are a lot more effective than often given credit. In fact, just yesterday, a new study from scientists at Harvard, Tufts, and the Environmental Health and Energy Group found that corn ethanol's carbon intensity is 46% lower than the average carbon intensity of gasoline. The study credits technology and improved farming practices for driving down emissions in the life cycle of ethanol. Here's a quote from the lead scientist, David McIntosh. He says, "In light of the US's renewed effort to achieve a net zero carbon economy, our research team believes this critical review is a timely contribution to establishing an accurate, common understanding of the greenhouse gas profile for corn ethanol in comparison to gasoline refined from oil. Our findings indicate that the displacement of gasoline with ethanol produced from biofuels yield greater greenhouse gas benefits than are generally recognized, and that prior analysis of the payback period for conversion of land to corn production should be updated. We believe the results of our analysis are relevant to continued development and refinement of a low carbon fuel standard in the United States." Now, this is a prime example of the evolving technology and advancements that continue to reduce ethanol's carbon footprint, and why we all need to be looking at the most up-to-date science when deciding the future of transportation. Here's another example of a study from late last year. It found that transitioning to higher ethanol blends, such as E15, would lower greenhouse gas emissions by 17.6 million tons a year, which is the equivalent of removing about 3.8 million cars from the road annually. Now, what do I mean when I say ethanol blends? Tammy touched on this earlier. Right now, all gas has 10% ethanol in it, and then the level of ethanol can vary depending on where you fill up. Many of you may be familiar with E85, which is the highest ethanol blend and should only be used in flex fuel vehicles, which you can tell if you have one based on the gas cap or the little tag on the back of your car. E85 should cost quite a bit less than regular, but it also has less energy, so you will notice some mileage loss. Now, mid-level ethanol blends, like the one I mentioned that my kids are aware of, they're what we consider the sweet spot. They reduce emissions and there's no noticeable mileage loss. These mid-level blends often range from a 15 to 30% ethanol blend, and you should be seeing more availability for 15% ethanol at regular gas pumps, which is often called E15 or unleaded 88, because the EPA recently approved this fuel for all cars 2001 and newer. And that extra 5% ethanol helps further reduce aromatics and our exposure to the emissions from benzene, toluene, and xylene. Blends like E20, E25, and E30 are found at gas stations with blender pumps like Jumpstart, who you're going to hear from next. Now, while liquid transportation will never beat electric vehicles on a carbon emitted per mile basis, the more access there is to mid-level blends, the more we can close the gap and use the cars we are currently driving to make a difference. You can see on this chart what happens if we stay at a 10% ethanol market. The next line shows what happens with more access to ethanol blends. The grams of CO2 emitted per mile drop even more. And then when you add in advancements in engine technology, we can get close to where electric cars stand today when talking grams of CO2 emitted per mile. And that's the calculation we believe is the most accurate for comparing EVs and liquid transportation. We don't have to be better than electric vehicles. We have to be better than we are today, and more access to ethanol blends will help us get there. This will be especially helpful in communities that have been designated by the EPA for failing to meet air quality standards. For example, in Denver, using the EPA's own emissions data, it shows that increasing ethanol blends will reduce all of the emissions that cause ozone. Notice on the chart the green bars, which show a decline in VOCs, NOx, and CO2 emissions with E15 and E20. Now, if emission reductions are not reason enough to try ethanol blends, there are others. Right now, when you fill up, the higher the octane number on the button, the higher the price of the fuel. But that's not the case with ethanol. Ethanol blends provide a higher octane, which is better for your engine, and often costs anywhere from 2 to 8 cents less than regular gas. And besides the cost savings, many cars like the extra octane, which boosts performance. Another study done by North Carolina State University found that non-flex fuel vehicles benefited from mid-level ethanol blends by helping cars run more efficiently while reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Now, one of the top questions that we get for people who do want to make the switch is whether they can and if they have to do anything first, and you don't. If you find a gas station with an E15, for example, you simply fill up and whatever was left in your tank will dilute the ethanol. Then at your next fill up, if there isn't a higher blend, you can switch back to regular without problem. And again, remember, the regular has 10% ethanol in it as well. The only fuel you should not do this with is E85. You do need a flex fuel vehicle for that. Now, if you're curious about learning more about the cost, emission, and engine benefits of ethanol, we've created a website called cleartheair.co, which is dedicated to showing you how you can make a difference and improve air quality one tank of gas at a time. You don't have to wait to buy an electric car. Cleaner fuels are available, you just have to look for them. And if you want to look for them, if you click on our website at the very top of the pump finder piece, you'll be directed to this website, to this map, which is operated by the DOE in Clean Cities, to find out if there's a station with ethanol blends near you. Because remember, the higher the ethanol blend, the cleaner the fuel. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Kim, very much. That was great. And now we will go on to Phil. So we'll get that set up real quickly.
Good morning. This is Phil Neer. Thank you for your time today, and I would like to start by addressing the issue that a lot of the things that we're going to talk about have already been discussed today. But the reason for us being involved is to let you understand that our company is set out to try to implement some of the changes that you've seen earlier in these presentations. You can see that we've talked a lot about EVs and how few there are in the country. So we find it very important at Jumpstart to make sure that we take advantage of this opportunity, not only for our business, but for our community and our customers to start making an impact on the environment.
Can you guys see the slides?
Yes, I can see the slides, but I cannot.
I think, have we lost Phil?
Phil, you for some reason got muted. So if you could unmute yourself, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. Phil, can you hear us? All right, can you speak real quick?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Anyway, you see the location on the screen now. This is one of our stores that we have our blender facility, our blender pumps at, and as you'll see later in the slides, we are making an effort to allow our customers to find choice at the pump. As we spoke about earlier, only 2% of the cars are electric in the United States, and a very small number. So here in Wichita, okay.
I mean, you got to go back. There you go.
Okay, thank you. We're trying to make immediate impact in our community in Wichita, and so as you can see, we have set out to make these products available. One of the things that we think is very important is that we are giving our consumers choice, and we not only do we have the E10, we have E15, E20, E30, which you'll see at the bottom of the screen here, has a 50% less tailpipe emissions. So we feel very, very good about what we're doing within that product. Okay, thank you. The one thing that we found it's I think very, very important is the infrastructure cost to put in blender pumps and to make these products available to our consumers are very minimal compared to what it takes to put an electric fleet across our country. Most of our liquid fueling stations today can be upgraded and have the ability to have higher blends of fuel at each location. What we've seen in our marketplace here in Wichita is that when we've made choice available to our consumers, we've seen that they've adapted to the higher blends, and we know that this is not only better for the emissions, better for the customer, but the cars are performing better, and our customers are saving money. The competitive price issue is obviously in the gasoline business a very important issue, and it's very important for our economy and our country. We have learned by third-party research that was done here at Wichita State University that price is the #1 issue for consumers, whether they're shopping at the grocery stores with their discount cards or their box stores with their loyalty programs. This is a big impact within our industry. Our stores, by having higher blends of ethanol, we're able to compete with those stores and give our customers in Wichita a better price. It's very important to our business. Okay, next slide, please. As you can see on this slide, the left picture is our newest equipment and our newest blending pump that's installed here in Wichita. And you can see it's much different than our early dispensers. This dispenser has touchscreen availability, and it enables us to communicate with our customers and train them and teach them more about the ethanol products that we're selling. It's all digital and makes the choice much simpler. In the middle, you'll see the picture of our price sign, where we're showing our consumers that there is a difference. If you buy our super premium, it's priced every day lower than our E10 gasoline. On the right, once again, is a close-up of the buttons, and you can see that all you have to do is touch the octane button and it selects your product for you. Okay, next slide, please. The case study here with Metro Couriers is a program that we've done with the fleet in Wichita that is using our super premium fuel for all their fleet vehicles. This program has been in place for several months now, and our customer, Metro Couriers, is saving thousands of dollars a month by using the higher blends and seeing better performance with their vehicles, and actually saving money and cleaning up the environment. Next slide, please. This vehicle is a street legal E85 vehicle that is owned by Lee Olson here in Wichita. He uses this not only as a race car, but as a daily driver. A great thing about this vehicle is not only will it have speeds of 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, but he's averaging 24 miles per gallon because his engine's actually tuned for E85. The problem with most vehicles is they're gasoline tuned engines and they're not designed for higher levels of ethanol. But with this product, this car is tuned for the E85 product and performs at a much higher miles per gallon than a normal vehicle. When the car came new from the factory, it was only about 16 miles per gallon. Okay, next, please. As you can see, we have put a lot of energy and time into our programs, not only at our islands, but in our stores, to provide ethanol products in our community of Wichita that will give customers choice. We're working very hard to make an impact on what happens not only in the purchase of ethanol, but in the environment and giving customers choice. We feel like as we continue to grow our business, that the marketplace will soon follow. The products that we sell give availability to the consumers that they don't find at our competitors. It does impact the quality of the air. It's better for our families. It's better for reducing dependence on oil, foreign countries. It helps create jobs not only in the state of Kansas, but in the U.S. as a whole. One of the things that's very interesting about the state of Kansas, and I'll end with this, with the oil production we have in Kansas and a 30% blend of ethanol, the state of Kansas can be energy independent. It's the only country, or only state in the United States that could have these features. So we believe if we continue to push our products and continue to work hard at making them available to not only Wichita, but the surrounding areas, we can make our state more energy independent, create jobs, and help all of our families. Thank you very much.
Bill, thank you very much, and thank you all. Thank you to all the presenters that presented today, obviously. Now we can open it up to Q&A. There are currently no questions in the chat, so I would like to get started. And Phil, I've got a question for you. So I think most consumers are familiar with E10 and E15. I know that E10 blends are almost all around the United States. E15 here in Kansas City, there's legislation in place for it to be here year-round, and I am familiar with it coming from Illinois, of it being an E15 everywhere. But can you tell the people on this presentation, your E20 and E30 blends, where do they fall in place? Like, who is using them? Can a normal consumer use them? Is it a certain model year that can use it? How does that actually work?
Well, the fleets that have fleet vehicles or flex fuel vehicles are using the E30, and they're seeing better mileage, where on the E85 they lose miles per gallon. So they prefer the super premium or the E30. Some customers that have 2001 cars and newer are choosing to use the E15 and E20, some even the E30. The thing that we've come to understand is the ethanol is an additive package, and it's simply gasoline. And I think as we see as time changes, we're going to see higher uses. All cars can burn super premium, but as the laws change, we'll see more and more of that happen in the marketplace. And I think that we'll continue to see engines that are designed specifically for these products, which they're not today, and we'll see better mileage and better performance for these products.
Thank you. And I have another question. This can go to any of the presenters, because I think a lot of people hear about electric vehicles, and everybody pretty much touched on it in their presentations. It is seemingly that's the future. That's the way that are going. A lot of these automobile makers are now coming out with electric vehicles, or electric versions of the previous vehicles that we know and love. But what my question is to you is, what kind of timeline do you see ethanol being prevalent and important for our environment? Do you ever see a point where maybe ethanol is not the best way to go for our vehicles?
Well, I can take that. We see that electric vehicles are likely the future. Who knows? They may develop something, in the next decade or so that's better than electric vehicles. But that seems to be the way that transportation is moving, especially when you're talking about light duty vehicles, which is primarily where gasoline is used. However, if we look at the trends and how it's moving, it's just not moving fast enough to meet those goals that they say we need to meet to reduce emissions by mid-century. I don't think I'll ever see a time where there's not liquid fuels. I don't think it'll ever happen. The average vehicle on the road has a lifespan of 16 years. So even if by mid-century we're at half electric vehicles, there's still more combustion vehicles on the road that we have to deal with. And we all know those classic car lovers. They're going to want to be able to drive those awesome cars around. So we're going to have some sort of fuel to fuel those cars. And so I don't ever see it going away. It probably won't be where liquid fuels are a majority at some point, but I think it's going to be around for a while. And, we have to keep pushing to do whatever we can to make transportation cleaner. It's the leading source of emissions. So if we can clean up the fuel and make our transportation cleaner, that's great. And that doesn't stop us from moving to cleaner vehicles in general.
And Tammy, to kind of add on to that as well, with what Brant said, whether ethanol wouldn't be a good option. The one thing potentially in the future, right now, all the cars on the road can use it. So nothing has to change. The infrastructure is there, the cars. So as we're in this transitional period, we, like you said, are having to use gasoline. So this is just a way to make it cleaner and make it better.
I might add to that, and I think that we're going to continue to see changes in the manufacturing of the ethanol and a lower carbon footprint there. I think we're going to see engine design changes from car manufacturers. I think we're going to see higher blend levels of ethanol available for customers at the pump. That's going to continue to make it cleaner. And I think that you kind of go back to some of Kim's charts earlier. as you go from E10 to E30, you're gonna continue to see that drop, and it's going to those kind of changes can happen much faster than a fleet change across our country. They make more economic sense. They're going to be available, and I think we've been very reluctant as an industry to change over the last 50 years, but the changes are coming, and I think you're going to see organizations get more involved in how we can clean this up and make it better. And I think we'll have a mixture of higher blends of ethanol along with EVs, but I think we're going to be able to clean our environment up dramatically. If you say on super premium you could cut emissions by 50% or an E30, that would make a huge impact in major metropolitan markets. So once this is understood and we start seeing the changes of it, I think consumers will take a much different look at what's happening today, and knowing that they could buy a different liquid fuel that will perform better and clean the environment.
Thank you. All right, I was actually looking in the wrong place, so I apologize. I was looking in the chat. There are actual questions here, so let's get to them. Beyond Casey's nationally and Jumpstart regionally, are other convenience store chains expanding E15 or other mid-level blends?
There is a regional chain up Great Lakes area. Gosh, I want to say, I think it's Quick Trip, but it's spelled differently than the Quick Trip that's around here in the Kansas area. They have a lot of E15. It was just, I think, a little over a year ago, maybe a little more, and Kim, you can maybe get me the correct info on this, when E15 was cleared for year-round use in vehicles. They'd done the studies and realized it was a great option. So I think we're going to be seeing more of it. We already are seeing more of it since that happened. It's going to be more available in Kansas City. They've gone through the process to have E15 available year-round in the Kansas City area. And so I think it's going to be expanding more. I don't know of any others that I can think of off the top of my head, but Kim, maybe you do.
I know that the chain Sheets is expanding, and then a lot of the ethanol trade groups are working with retailers right now. There's 3,000 stations that sell E15, and that number is growing. There was just some money that was set aside by USDA for blender pumps that several organizations have taken advantage of. So really it will just continue to grow. We're coming up on the second year that since EPA approved E15 year round for all cars, 2001 and newer. So it's just we're going to continue to see the growth, and there is a lot of effort being spent right now on helping retailers get E15.
And Bailey in the comment section has also said that Quick Trip, Quick and Easy, Racetrack, Thornton's are also going E15. So thank you, Bailey.
I think I probably should add too, I think Quick Trip with a Q that's here in this area has started looking at it. It's not at all their locations, but they do have some locations that carry it. To be honest, I'm not in on their marketing or what have you, so I don't know the specifics of it. My guess is maybe it's just kind of a test to see how it goes, but it is available at some Quick Trip QT locations around in the region.
Yeah, sorry, that Quick Trip was KWIK, not the Quick Trip of QUIK, or however Quick Trip is spelling it in the Missouri the Missouri region. So I apologize for not clarifying that homonym. So would anybody else like to add to that? Okay, that's fine. So the next question is for Phil. Are you seeing increased driver acceptance of E15? And on the flip side, are you seeing pushback on higher ethanol blends? Ethanol-free gasoline is a sign that I'm seeing more frequently these days when I'm on the road.
No, we have not seen a pushback. We actually have had a lot of growth in our E15 business, and our consumers like it. They like the performance. I've been in this industry, in the gasoline industry, for 30 years, and very rarely historically had we had compliments on our products, our gasoline products that we sell, and we receive those today. So our customers do like the performance they're getting. They like the fact that they're saving that 3 to 5 cents on E15, and they feel that the people that communicate to us feel better about the environment by using it as well.
Thank you. Guys, there's only one more question left in the questions box. So if you have any more questions, keep them coming. If not, I will keep on going. And this one is just more of a clarification problem, and I'm not exactly sure who said it, so forgive me. But what was the statement about current vehicles using blends higher than E15?
What we've seen at Jumpstart is our customers with flex fuel vehicles are using, preferring to use the super premium versus the flex fuel, the 85. They get better mileage with the super premium than the unleaded, and better mileage than they get with the flex fuel. So that's been a real hot spot for flex fuel vehicles for us.
Is that the E30, Phil?
Yes, ma'am.
Also,
oh, go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I also just wanted to throw in that in the owner's manuals of BMW and Mini Coopers today, they've put it in their manual up to E25. So car companies are starting to recognize the value of the ethanol blends as well. And just kind of a side note, I use E30 in my non-flex car and have for several years, and I am happy with the performance, but more importantly with the emission benefits is why I do it.
Kim, do you mind sharing what car that is, just so people have a general idea of, you know, what you're actually putting in, and, you know, what they can maybe expect?
Sure. And, you know, this is my comfort level, but I have a 2014 Nissan Rogue. And so basically I've been using E30 as often as I can. I'm fortunate that I have a Jumpstart just on the corner here by my office, so I plan my fill-ups around that. But yeah, I've had no issues. I haven't had any drop in mileage loss. And, you know, I just felt comfortable making the switch based on, you know, the information I've been able to read, and then also just experience.
I don't know if the questioner was asking, there was research done several years ago, and there's some myths out there that ethanol will ruin your cars, which is, it had to do with seals that were put in cars many years ago. But basically any vehicle that's 2001 or newer has different seals, different hoses, different gaskets. There's not a problem with running the ethanol. So if your car is a 2000 model year or newer gasoline vehicle, you can run an E15 ethanol blend, even if you don't have the flex fuel badge. So I'm not sure if that was the question or not, but hopefully if we didn't get that question, type it in again and we'll try and answer it for you. So I see there's one more question in here about the emissions. Do you not see that one, Brant?
I'm having a little trouble.
Okay, it says
it's just minimized and I can't actually see it. I've been desperately trying to get it.
It says, I see the claim of 34% less emissions, but many environmental groups denounce ethanol because total life cycle impact is worse than petroleum. What's the source of your analysis? The 34% less emissions, that comes from the Alternative Fuels Data Center, which I looked on there. They don't have where they got that information, but I can reach out to them and we can certainly send that out to you if you want to message us, and we can get you where they got that information. The information that Kim shared is from a study that came out just this week by Harvard, I believe she said. Kim, you may want to speak to that.
Yes. So technology, everything is improving, and right now a lot of things are not up to date that people reference. But yes, that study came out from Harvard yesterday. About 2 years ago, there was a study that came out that said ethanol was 43% better, 39 to 43% better than gasoline, and then yesterday's was 46%. So again, the farming practices, the life cycle analysis, it is a lot better than often given credit for. And when you do look at the most up-to-date science, you can see that. I can send the links to the studies that I'm referencing. And, you know, Tammy and I were talking yesterday, and it really struck me how, you know, we're not using the same cell phones we were using 30 years ago because technology has changed. And just like technology is constantly evolving and improving for electric vehicles, the same goes for ethanol and for farming practices. We all want to make better fuels. We all want to have cleaner transportation, and agriculture is a big piece of that.
And that comes to a lot of some of the information that's out there that environmental groups are using is old, outdated information. It's based on stuff from, you know, as Kim said, 20, 30 years ago. It's no longer accurate. And I did double check that 34% reduction is a life cycle analysis reduction. So.
Thank you all. So the next question is, any thoughts on changes in the RFS blending waivers with the change in administration, and how that might change conditions for your company or for the ethanol industry as a whole?
Essentially, we're kind of waiting just to see. We hope that, you know, things continue or it continues to grow. But right now it's so early in the administration that we're not really sure what's going to happen. But we are leading with the carbon benefits of ethanol because that is something that is so important to the new administration. So at the very least, you know, the focus on how ethanol can reduce carbon in the transportation sector is just going to be a huge piece of what we focus on moving forward.
Okay, and I see another question here. It says, shouldn't there be a true life cycle analysis done for EVs as well? Production and recycling of batteries, mining of rare earth metals, etc. Yes, and that has been done. It is out there. I don't have that at the ready. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared for an EV question. But again, if you want to email Brant or I, we can get you that information. So. Let's see here. Are you seeing any more questions, Brant?
I'm not, but I'm also having a hard time seeing any questions. So if you're seeing them, I had a nice big window open and now it's minimized and I can't figure it out. But I do not see any of them left. So if that's all, and then maybe I'll.
Oh, I did. Here's one comment. Somebody made a comment, and Phil, maybe you can talk to this. Somebody says, can't help but thinking that ethanol-free gasoline is just a way to boost your margins if you're running a convenience store. So I don't know. Maybe you could speak to that, Phil.
Well, obviously that's a choice that you can make as a retailer, but we've made the choice to give our customers a product that's better for the environment and better for the future. We've chosen to move away from those products. Those are products that we, you know, historically sold, but we made the decision. We sell E10, E15, E20, E30, E85 at every location that's branded Jumpstart and on every fuel dispenser. So we think it's very, very important that our consumers have a consistent offering. So if you go to one of our stations on the west side of Wichita, it's going to be the same as on the north side and the east side and the south side. And so we think, you know, giving choice is important, but people have to understand that it's going to be available. So we've made the decision not to sell E0 because we want our customers to know what we're doing and what we're about, and that we're trying to make a difference.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think. Oh, go ahead, Brant.
No, I mean, go ahead. I got it, figured it out. So that's awesome. But I'm not seeing any additional questions. So if that's the case, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank the attendees who showed up and had plenty of questions to ask. That was awesome. And then I want to thank our presenters who I thought had a very, very broad but specific perspective on what they thought the history and the future of ethanol is, along with, you know, some interesting tidbits along the way. So I appreciate everyone who joined, and we will hope to see you soon. Like I said, this is a recorded event. We will be sharing this on our social media websites for Metro Energy Center and our Clean Cities. So if you would like to see that, please follow us on our social media. And if you have any additional questions that you didn't feel comfortable asking in the chat, like Tammy said earlier, please contact me, Tammy, any one of the presenters that you want to. We can get you a hold of them, and we can get that question answered. So with that, I would like to say thank you and goodbye.
All right, and I have dropped Brant and I's email addresses in the chat, so feel free to copy those down if you want to reach out to us. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thank you.